Charles Hoskinson says we need to unbank. Credit Suisse or Credit Sus? And also Chat GPT-4 is here. Is it time for the singularity and Skynet? Welcome to Around the Blockchain. Thank you for joining. Make sure you hit that like button. We got some great guests. Let's get right into it. On the top left, we have Tim Warren. Tim, how's it going today? Are you ready? Are you in some juicy trades?
Yes, I am ready. And yes, I'm in juicy trades.
All right. We love to hear it. And also we have Mind Your Biz with the ever-changing background. Mind Your Biz, how's it going today?
It's going great. Thanks for being back on. I'm actually in the studio, so this will not be changing during the show today.
Okay. All right. Looking good. And then he was just in ATL, Hotlanta, Cassius. Cassius, how was the trip? How was it staying with AJ Wrights Crypto?
Oh, it was dope. You know, we got a song coming called Pay Me an Algo. So we had a fun time filming it at Hit Network. Great studio, by the way.
All right. I'm definitely looking for that. Let me know when so I can retweet it. And then we have Altcoin Daily. Catch him at NFT LA, correct?
That's right, DZ. Great intro today. You guys are constantly changing it up, calibrating, getting bigger and better, but you still can't get the right Arnold on the thumbnail. Maybe next time.
Nor can we match your daily growth when it comes to subscribers. I know, hey, maybe you're even going to pass that BitBoy crypto channel one day. We're going to be watching those numbers closely. But let's get into it. And the call to unbank from everyone's favorite falconer, of course, Charles Hoskinson. He did one of his patented live streams that he loves to do. He said, crypto companies need to unbank themselves and use the term Derisk, saying this. And he followed up by saying digital securities could even kill traditional banking, saying this is going to be our arrow in the dark that might end up just, being the finishing blow here. Now, Mind Your Biz. I know this is near dear to your heart. I'm mostly just judging that because you love Monero. Maybe I'm leaping to a conclusion here, but is it possible to unbank anytime soon, or is this some dreamlike scenario that we'll always be fighting for that may never come to fruition?
That's a really tough question to answer, actually, DZ. So again, thanks for having me back on the channel. Always totally humbled to be on such incredible panels with such incredible speakers and such incredible achievers in this space. Just a reminder to the audience, if you're not already smashing like, what are you doing with your life? Smash like immediately. But as far as getting unbanked and staying unbanked, that's really the trick, right? People try it. I'm sure you've tried it. Definitely, I've probably tried it as well. People on the panel have also tried it. We're into cryptocurrencies, so we know what our favorites are. And Monero is a really great option, but you wind up having to go with the gift card loophole, right? And so there's this last mile of still having to go buy something else with your crypto that empowers you at the point of sale to then be unbanked, so to speak. Now, there are some people for whom this is life and death internationally. They're never going to be banked because they're already unbanked, largely, right? Billions of people, in fact, who are unbanked. But already here in the United States, where we have this habit of using banks, where we have this habit of using debit cards, all the infrastructure that we've become accustomed to over the last several decades of our lives, or for as long as you've been around, if you're a Zoomer, like how are you going to move from having the convenience of the traditional system into just cryptocurrency? It does feel unobtainable. Now, there are people that do it though, and it's still just a question of how austere do you want to go? It'd be like going off grid immediately and only eating food from cans or being able to harvest something from the land, right? Go and hunt. It's a very, very austere thing to do. It's a very difficult transition for most people to make. The curve looks almost like, a wall. It's just very, very steep. And so being able to go from zero to fully unbanked or banked to fully unbanked, not for the faint of heart. But I do agree with Mr. Hoskinson. I do agree that there is real hope. And I think it's pretty obvious, and it's more obvious to more people than it's ever been before, that the traditional banking system is buckling under its own weight because it's a system of revolving debt. So when you talk about getting unbanked, it's starting to feel like common sense to the average Jane and Joe. And man, I'm here for it. I'm just here for it.
Do you have any particularly favorite gift cards? I'm looking at some. I'm online right now. I can get these Toys R Us ones and Circus City ones really, really cheap, pennies on the dollar. Or is it really not matter? I mean, is Starbucks better than, say, Roblox?
No, I really do think that there's an arbitrage opportunity there on the Circuit City, but I want you to dive in first and tell me how that trade goes for you, DZ.
All right, I will do. And this giraffe is just so captivating. He's asking for money. I feel like I got to give it to him here. All right, well, Altcoin Daily, I agree with a lot of his points, but some of it just seems hard to make into reality. He wants to de-risk from the banking sector, where when Signature Bank goes down, it doesn't affect Bitcoin. Is that going to be possible as long as we have these on-ramps and off-ramps to the financial sector here? Can we ever not blow up when a big bank blows up?
Hey, DZ, great to be here. For those keeping track at home, I finally got my hair just right, or at least as good as it's going to get. And to answer your gift card question, there's no way that Mind Your Biz doesn't have a, Cabela's gift card. There's no way he's not going to Cabela's every week. But I mean, to answer your question, is it possible that we totally, get away from the banks and just grow bankless? That is possible. I mean, that's how crypto and Bitcoin started off. I mean, certainly in 2020 and 2021, when PayPal started getting involved and, crypto exchanges were becoming banks and banks were being able to legally custody crypto, I was bullish on that. I thought that was a natural integration that would speed up adoption. Now, obviously, what's happened in the past couple of weeks and what you're alluding to, the banks go down and crypto takes a hit, if in nothing but, just people's confidence in cryptocurrency. I think cryptocurrency could grow slowly without the banks. For me personally, I do think that we should try to continue growing together for the time being. And then in the far future, what crypto is going to do to the banking sector is going to reduce their power and is really going to keep them in check. But I think for everybody's sake, the best thing we could do is get rid of the fraudsters, get rid of the bad ideas. Never going to get rid of them entirely, but continue growing together and just trying to weed out the bad apples and the bad ideas.
All right. And you brought up Cabela's. I'd never heard of this before. I guess it's an American retailer specializing in hunting, fishing, boating, camping, shooting, and other outdoor recreation merchandise. Of course, Mind Your Biz really into boating, although he keeps getting in these accidents. Mind Your Biz, you got to learn how to navigate this boat where you stop crashing, please.
I will not be kink shamed on this show. Thank you very much.
All right.
Keep going to Cabela's.
All right. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to stick with my circuit cities here. Tim, I think, Altcoin Daily is kind of bringing up a good point that maybe the regulators went a little bit too far too soon. Do you think that they'll slow down Operation Choke Point? It seems like they're trying to maybe kill crypto quietly and silently. Did they maybe make too many waves and there's too many reverberations against the traditional market? Does that give you hope that maybe they'll take their foot off the gas here?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I would be very surprised if a lot of the banks that we're hearing about having all these problems over the last week and some change weren't having problems for a very long time, but they were able to delay the release of the information for as long as possible so that the government could continue to spew the FUD it wanted to about crypto. It was a very convenient situation here just a couple of weeks ago when it was crypto that was crashing and it was crypto that was going down and the traditional finance hadn't yet felt the pain. And now it is just coming in droves. This really communicates to me. I think this was happening all the while. We're seeing right now, even this morning, we read an article over on Investing Bros talking about how in the UK, there's one of the banks that are only allowing people to deposit about £1,000 per day into crypto. This is the bank terrified. This is central banks terrified that people are going to watch the demise of the centralized banking system, look for another place to hold their value like Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, and start running on the banks and changing overnight. The problem with this situation, though, and the questions you were asking the other guys, I do think it's going to be a little bit of time before we can go unbanked. I think the idea of it is very good. And I think people, if you could just pitch them the dream, they would say that's beautiful. But a lot of times revolutions, people get very scared in the beginning and they're not ready to sacrifice, in which it would take a lot of sacrifice to go completely unbanked at this point. So I think we're still a couple more pain points away in the current financial system before we get there. But that day is coming. It's a question of when, not if.
Couple pain points or a couple choke points away, if you will. Now, Cassius, to get unbanked, we're probably going to need a network effect with a particular cryptocurrency. Do you think that anything besides Bitcoin and the Lightning Network could step up and take that place? Is it going to be a stable coin on an L1? Could it be Cardano? Could it be Algorand? What are your thoughts on what the winner would look like?
Well, that's a good question. It's really hard to say right now. We're early on what the winner would be. But I have an idea of something that in the future that might actually kickstart this thing in a way that's maybe an unintended consequence by the government. One of the things that Wall Mind Your Biz was talking about might push it down is when CBDCs come, how's their blockchain going to be built? Is there going to be a wallet that you store your crypto in? What if we're paid our currency and our jobs and our normal salary in a token that gets direct deposited into our wallet? Then can we use DEXs to swap for whatever currency we want? That's a way that we don't need the banks anymore. So it kind of depends on how that happens, because they could unintentionally push regular folks into using crypto or make it easier for them now to actually get into cryptocurrencies. If you could swap your CBDC for any other crypto, now you'd like to believe, of course, they're probably not that stupid, but that makes it more of a thing that us crypto natives we're more used to it. But that might be something that is a big leap forward for getting all the regular folks into using cryptocurrency and the idea of tokenization of money being on a blockchain. Whereas the main thing we're using banks for right now is fiat on ramp, off ramp. Like, we don't really need exchanges for that much. You just use the exchange to swap from your bank account into crypto. And so, whether it be a stable coin, whether it be Bitcoin, I probably think Bitcoin is probably the most likely one for decentralized finance, probably because it's the least volatile right now. But we're still a long ways away from that. Maybe CBDCs will actually turn out to be good for crypto in the long term.
All right. Well, let's move on and talk about this Swiss bank, not Sus bank, not Suisse bank. It's not that sweet, that's for sure. Talking about Credit Suisse, and their shares are way down following the financial meltdown that has happened in America, now spreading globally into this big Swedish bank here. Their shares were down about 25% at one point before after the top shareholder, Saudi Arabia, heard they might have a little bit of funds there. Saudi National Bank, they rolled out more investments. They took on a 10% ownership back in October of last year. And then now they're down, just since early January, down 40% for the year so far. And of course, this is coming after the steep collapse of all the banks that start with the letters SI in America. But this seems to be breaking. I do want to share this. The Swiss Central Bank, they did say they are ready to come forward. And so there might be a little bit of a lifeline from these European regulators here. Now, Tim, do you think that this stock value plunge, was this in line with the risk associated with this asset, or just people seeing, oh, banks are failing, let me just maybe divest some of my holdings here?
Well, weren't we just talking about the Swiss bank a couple of months ago and how they were defrauding their customers?
Yep.
The Swiss has had a problem here for a while. And again, like I said before, we are just now hearing about all the problems banks are having. More than likely, these banks have been having problems for months, but because the same people who have interest in central banking systems control the media, you're never going to hear a report or an article that talks about that. You're going to see the ones talking about crypto. This crash is just a sign when it's showing the brokenness of the current system. When you just print money and when you back money with the words and ideas and sayings of people in a centralized system, rather than actually having something of substance backing currency, you're going to have problems. It doesn't matter how you spew the story. When there's a pile of horse shit in the not using words like that very often, but there's a pile of horse shit in the kitchen, you can call it whatever you want to call it. It doesn't change what it is. That got me. My brain fried because I'm not a very common cusser, but I had to express the real weight of the situation. That's what we have going on with this bank with gosh, that really frazzled my brain. With Credit Suisse, their problem at the moment is they are just not a solvent bank. They have not invested properly. They're over leveraged, and everything is catching up to them. It doesn't matter how much money you print. It doesn't matter what you do. When you make the dumb decisions that this bank has made, and when your government acts the way governments have been acting over the last 30, 40 years, especially since the US went off the gold standard, this type of stuff is inevitable. That's why current fiat currency will never, never work long term, and we need something like crypto instead.
All right, I totally agree. Now, Mind Your Biz, he brought up the fact that they were defrauding investors. We have it up right here. In October of 21, they were fined
in the kitchen just a little bit. Sorry about that. It just that one's stuck. Tim, you broke my brain.
Yeah, it's incepted, and were you in my dreams last night? But the bank was fined $475 million. That is right, about $500 million by the U.S. and British authorities after they were caught up in a bribery scandal in Mozambique. involving loans to state-owned companies there. You can see this took place between 2013, 2016 to finance, surveillance and other projects, but were partly diverted for bribes. And they had to cancel $200 million owed by the country there, which then plunged into a serious financial crisis. So mind your biz. They're shaking this dead weight of, hey, you're a scammy bank. Why do we seem to care more about the stock fell 25% rather than they're bribing people to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars? Is that just fundamental human psychology? Is that media being manipulated? You have any theories?
Yeah, so I think my working theory, it's a really, really short answer, but let me get back to that in just a moment here. My my working theory is that we we are able to forgive a lot in modern society. I mean, we're a lot of Western culture is designed on Judeo-Christian principles. We're able to forgive a lot. What we're not able to forgive is incompetence, DZ. For the most part, not able to forgive incompetence, especially when it comes to handling our money collectively. This is our lifeblood, right? Especially when you talk about, I think we overheard earlier, when you got small children, when you're just starting out, like it's pretty serious stuff. If 25% of your household budget just went missing, went walkabout, and you could not pay for rent and you couldn't feed your children, you would probably reprioritize what you're willing to forgive. So yeah, as far as them having a shortfall on the balance sheet, as far as them being valued at almost 25% less, this becomes a less forgivable sin, if you will, in terms of banking because of the number of lives that it affects negatively. Now you talk about bribes, you talk about misbehavior, right, in foreign lands, especially when it comes to developing nations. Now I don't know what the full situation is in Mozambique, don't live there, don't have friends in Mozambique. So I don't want to kind of paint a picture with broad strokes here. But in a developing nation, in some cases, the only way to get certain kinds of business done, unfortunately, is to grease certain palms. So whether or not all of this was totally malicious or it wound up being outright criminal, unfortunately, that's the cost of doing business in certain territories throughout the world, even here in the Americas. That's the cost of doing business in certain countries, just here in the Americas, and maybe even some states, right? Like that definitely has been known to happen in the Windy City, and along the Eastern Seaboard. Sometimes bribes are just how business gets done. I'm not condoning it, but my eyes are wide open to that fact, Easy. And so when you ask me, why are we more concerned about the stock price failing than Credit Suisse being involved in some bribes in a developing nation? To me, the answer is pretty cut and dried. It's pretty crystal clear that one of those two things will affect my family's ability to be fed immediately. The other one might just be a cost of doing business.
All right. Hopefully that isn't the cost of doing business. Hundreds of millions of dollars. I got to get in that business. Now, Altcoin Daily, we joke, of course. Altcoin Daily, is there a way that they're going to get out of this situation in a maybe transparent and a publicly trusted manner? And I'm thinking back of '08. We didn't really get that at all. I think maybe someone got a slap on the wrist with a little token sentencing. But do they have a better chance of maybe putting the bad actors in front of the spotlight, being that it's Swiss and maybe they'll be neutral?
Yeah, it's nice that the Swiss government is taking a stand, not just on the fence and saying that we will back the creditors or the depositors of the bank. But to answer your question, yes, I think there's a way out, but no, not really in a transparent way, as you alluded to. I mean, first of all, Credit Suisse a whole lot bigger than Silicon Valley Bank in America. So if there was a problem, I mean, Silicon Valley Bank was big for America because a lot of Silicon Valley tech companies banked with them and crypto companies. But Credit Suisse a whole lot bigger. If there was a problem, the reverberations in the world would be a whole lot bigger. Now, would they be able to get out? I mean, I think we'd probably see something similar to 2008, where the rich, the powerful would definitely get be backed. There'd probably be some sort of seizing of power, and probably if you're a regular person, you'd get your money back too if they have something like the FDIC. But in a trustless, transparent way, like you said, I don't know. I have my doubts. It is a bank.
Yeah. That needs to be on the blockchain. Then it'd be maybe a little transparent there. All right, Cassius, we're seeing situations in America. We're seeing situations globally. Now, in America, yeah, maybe you bank at this regional bank. Maybe your employer banks. This might affect your payroll. Definitely a lot of short-term pain. But then, we're part of a global economy. We have global trade here in America. Just go to Walmart and see where things are built. What is going to give the average American, I'm talking Joe the plumber, what is going to give Joe the plumber more issues? A national banks failing or international banks failing when it comes to, affecting their pocket at the end of the day?
Ooh, well, that's a good question. I mean, I guess it kind of depends on specifically what the international bank has exposure to in our country. But I don't know. Well, regional bank different than like national bank, probably because America's got the world's reserve currency. If it was a big bank in the United States, it would probably affect them more immediately, their pocketbook. I mean, especially if your employer, depends on who's paying you, but if your employer couldn't pay you, that's a serious matter. I know I have a friend actually who works at one of the tech startups out here in the Bay in Silicon Valley, and they literally didn't know what they were going to do, how they're going to pay their employees, because when that bank, they thought the assets would be frozen, if it wasn't over the weekend where they got it sorted out, they didn't know what was going to happen on Monday. So that was very immediately and very directly affected the people who worked in the area. So I would think a national bank would affect it more, but you know, it's easier said, Monday morning quarterback, and to say, well, you diversify your holdings, or you have, your assets that are not for deposits in a different bank or something like that, in a bigger money center bank. But all those are not really the solution, right? I mean, we know that the solution is to not have fractionalized banking, not have the banks loan out all of your money, to have reserves on hand 1-to-1. I mean, that's the real answer. Again, you can't snap our fingers and make that be a thing, because that's not apparently how the financial system works, which is one of the reasons why we're so pro blockchain and actually having things on chain. But it's scary for a lot of people. And I actually want to point out this one thing, that as much FUD as gets thrown on crypto all the time, this time the FUD was on the feet of the banking system. It's obviously not a coincidence that Bitcoin didn't drop in price as much as all the regional banks and all the banks in America, because people understand, like, we got it. We get it. Like, Bitcoin, this is why it exists. This is why decentralized finance is a thing. It's because we've seen this movie before. So I don't think it's going to be as bad. I really don't think it's going to be as bad as like in the financial crisis in 2008. I think they kind of got a grip on that, but it's just more advertisement for blockchain. It really is.
All right. And you brought up a good distinction. The regional banks that we're seeing aren't on the scope of our top 4, top 5 national banks. But if it was, that would be a lot more pain than just say Silvergate. All right. Well, let's talk about Chat GPT-4. I want to share a couple tweets, is all I've been seeing on my Twitter feed. Here's just a couple example, just one example, then a meme. Can GPT code an entire game for you? Yes, it can. I recreated Snake that runs in your browser with zero knowledge of JavaScript, all in less than 20 minutes. There's a thread. I'm going to go down about 4 tweets here. This is for everybody on Twitter. Chat GPT-4 releases. Brace yourself for. This is a superpower, but 99% don't know how to use it. Thread below. So I've already seen, I think, 17 of those. They're all linking the same things. They're all linking that Snake guy. They're all linking some other stuff too. Game of Life out there. But they just released it as improved problem-solving skills, more generative language skills right now. And they just opened it up, showed the public this in action, solving tasks like writing code, completing taxes on command. It was even hiring assistants, remotely. There's a lot of stuff, moving on here. And this is just the first part, guys. We've only been out, I think it's been out less than 24 hours at this point. So there's still a lot of potential discoveries to be found, over the next few days here. But mind your biz. I mean, obviously there's a lot of issues when it comes to hackers using this, malicious Solidity code. What is going to be the end result? Is it going to be scarier out there for the novice, or not as scary for the novice? Because maybe someone develops a user-friendly Chat GPT assistant similar to the little famous Clippy, whatever his name was. Like, can we get that in the pockets of all the novices, or are all the tech-savvy people just going to pull the rug out from everybody?
Those are phenomenal questions to ask. I think as far as the sort of the ethics of working with AI, the ethics of working behind an AI, the ethics of having an AI work beside you, or having your own little army of AI minions, we have to ask all these questions, DZ. There's so many that we have to ask. And in particular, we need to be asking who benefits and who has access. right? The biggest thing. You talked about accessibility by way of user interface, having something be feel approachable by the average person, right? And have the same kind of usability as your Gmail or your iPhone or anything else that you use on a day-to-day basis. And I think that those are important questions to ask as well. But I really think that the ethics that they have to come first, and we have to accelerate those conversations in public forums like this and with friends and family. We have to discuss this. The human element, the moment that we lose sight of it, it's the event horizon on the edge of a black hole. And we're so much closer than most people realize. Very few people really, really get it. I prepared some comments for this actually, because I knew we were going to be talking about Chat GPT-4. So let me just read. I'm going to turn my eye line away from the camera for a minute because I prepared some comments.
You're not in a trade, are you?
I'm not in a trade. It might be a video game, but I mean, I can be forgiven for that. This is
League of Legends.
yeah, right. But I understand and empathize with the fears and concerns surrounding the development and use of AI technologies like ChatGPT-4. While it's true that these technologies have the potential to disrupt certain industries and impact employment, it's important to recognize that they also bring numerous benefits that can contribute to human well-being, innovation, and growth. Firstly, it's important to acknowledge that throughout history, technological advancements have caused shifts in the workforce. They've also consistently led to the creation of new jobs and new opportunities and industries. We have to focus on leveraging the positive aspects of AI because it's already here, such as increasing productivity, reducing repetitive tasks, enabling new forms of innovation, proactively mitigating the negative impacts of repetitive work. Secondly, as AI technologies become more advanced, they can help us address some of the world's most pressing challenges, from climate change to healthcare to, boring data entry. By enhancing our ability to tackle these issues, AI has the potential to vastly improve the quality of life and create new opportunities for people globally. I don't want to read all of my comments here. Let me just finish by saying, as we continue to develop and refine AI technologies like ChatGPT-4, it's crucial for all stakeholders to engage in open, constructive dialogue. But again, I'll just say we have to fast track ethics. This will allow us to work together to harness the power of AI in ways that benefit humanity and minimize potential harm. Oh, by the way, that was entirely written by ChatGPT-4.
A plot twist at the end. Are you M. Night Shyamalan? Altcoin Daily. How do you say his last name, by the way?
Shyamalan.
Shyamalan. Oh, wow. Actually, yeah, it's Shyamalan. I don't know if I had that right or not. All right. Well, I'm going to bring it to you now. He brought up ethics. We've seen some issues where, hey, it will make a positive poem about Joe Biden, but it won't make a positive poem about Donald Trump. It might, it'll make a joke about maybe one ethnicity, but it won't make a joke about a different one. Where does that land as far as you? Should we even be considering that in the same discussion as ethics? Is this a separate situation entirely? What do you think about the filters that they're putting on this to maybe stop a Donald Trump poem?
Yeah, so Chat GPT #4 now, it's just implemented its own taproot, its own merge. It's bigger and better than ever before. You can do more things on it. As far as like typing into Chat GPT, what do you think about different races or politics? I'm not doing that like you, DZ. I treat everybody equal.
I'm really trying to get a Donald Trump rap song.
There was plenty of them written about him before he became president. But anyway, is it ethics if a Chat GPT is like has a political skew or certain skew? I don't think it's like ethical because they're not that smart yet. I mean, it's just based on information that it gets inputted, but certainly we need to be extra careful, and it's for bigger minds than me. But yeah, at this point, AI robots, they're definitely going to take over the world.
All right. Well, Tim, I mean, he brought up a good point. It's essentially, it's not the AI saying, I don't want to make a poem about Donald Trump. It's the inputs at the end of the day. It's the programmers. They are the ones programming this into it. Do you see a civil war of sorts happening in the tech industry as people have, my woke GPT versus your red GPT? They have all sorts of battles maybe behind the scenes that we don't even know anything of. Is this going to further divide us? Is this going to maybe help bridge us? Because, hey, I'm laughing at the Joe Biden poem and you're laughing at the Trump. Where do you see this heading as far as Americans, just trusting their neighbor?
It's really sad. I've had a lot of conversations with friends and family members about this. Obviously, you're not going to find two human beings on the planet that agree on every single issue that ever exists. But in
Wait,
reality, I think
not to cut you off, Tim, but I
you're
thought
going to
Austin
disagree
and
with me.
Aaron, I thought Austin and
Yeah.
Aaron were in complete synchronicity.
We can't prove that they're not the same person at this point. So your point is unproven at this point. So let's get back into it. Despite the fact that that you're going to always find some difference between every single person, most people agree on most topics. I would even go so far as if you were to just have very real and raw conversation with average Americans, yes, you're going to find some wackadoos out there that are either extremely far left or extremely far right, but the majority of Americans sit within very similar belief systems, very similar thoughts about what's right and wrong to a degree. But politics have gotten in and split and decided to teach us, hey, you either identify as a Republican or you identify as a Democrat, and you have to agree with everything the Republicans say, or you have to agree with everything the Democrats say. And they're trying to force a divide. And I think Chat GPT, as you kind of phrase that question, might be the same way. And it's sad, but realistically, that probably is going to be what happens. You have a problem on your hand when China accuses you of being used for propaganda. But that's exactly what we have with ChatGPT. China's government does not want it anywhere near their country because they're afraid that it will brainwash their people. I'll say that again. China is afraid that it will brainwash their people. We'll just let that one sink in for you.
Yeah.
It's AI. It was supposed to be open source. This is something Elon was very vocal about. He said, when I helped create this, I helped fund it, I helped build it. The whole point was it was going to be decentralized, it would be open source. There was going to be no censoring of information, but that has very much changed. It is a program. And no matter how much AI develops, I do think AI is going to be the future. I do think that the more we're able to use this amazing tool rather than fight it, the further civilization will get. However, AI will never know more than what humans implement into it. And no matter how smart an AI system gets, the complexities of a human brain, both what we're conscious of and unconscious, will forever outweigh what AI has. The problem is, though, is that who are the people deciding these ethics? That's another problem, is that, there's a very big difference, and you're going to find different opinions on what ethics is. It's one of the reasons, even as a God-fearing Christian, I have my view of what ethics, what I believe the morality looks like. I have my views on what's right and what's wrong, but I understand the concept of freedom and a right to have a free speech. Whether I agree with your free speech or not, you deserve to be able to communicate it. And things like this, shutting that down and trying to teach us or tell us this is what is ethical and this is what's not ethical, it actually serves to not only further divide us, it serves to do exactly what China is afraid of and brainwash us. And so because of that, getting back to the original question you asked me, I really hope that someone offers us an alternative to Chat GPT, because it is taking over by storm. Watch it, people are using this. The people are already using it for their school, but people are using this for their everyday job, and it can be an amazing asset. But with it having censoring and with it having skews trying to dictate what is more moral and not moral, we're going to need something to compete with it that opens up this playing field for free speech.
All right. And you're making me a little bit afraid that even more people are going to be into the current thing, whatever that thing might be. But now all hope's lost. All right. Well, Cassius, final question here. You're not our only musical / crypto, personality that we have on the show. I'm talking about Matty B. I've asked him about what he thinks about AI and how it's going to affect music. And he has some pretty good insights into, only finite amount of chords. Really, there's only going to be so many melodies one can create. I want to ask you about rap lyrics, though. I've seen some prompts just by the old Chat GPT 3.5, write a song in the style of DMX, and it has the barking, and you're like, holy crap, you can actually hear DMX's voice there. I've seen jokes in the style of Sam Kinison, seems as funny as anything he could, or Mitch Hedberg even. Are they going to be able to create, say, Kendrick Lamar? Who's your favorite lyricist? I'll use your example.
Of all time?
Yes.
Of all time, my favorite lyricist is Big L.
Big L, good choice. A little data. We'll give it to him, as a product of his time. Big L, do you think that they'll be able to create a AI model that can literally make better lyrics than a Big L or whomever your favorite lyricist may be?
No, I mean, because rap has a lot more to do with just like rhyming words on paper, right? I mean, it definitely has a lot to do with your swagger and how you deliver the enunciation and pronunciation and, just the slur of your speech. But this kind of brings up a larger point, is that everything we've been talking about in this discussion is basically human impact on software, on a computer, on AI. And I think that, and I'm glad you asked me about music, for example, because I agree with Piano Matty B in the sense that there is a finite amount of chords, for example, that sound good to the human ear, right? So there's certain things that they can do. However, we already have software that does a lot of this stuff. So it's not like this, just like that we had nothing and then all of a sudden we had AI, right? There's been building up AI this whole entire time. But it is true, for example, they say Chat GPT-4 is 500 times more powerful than Chat GPT-3, right? So I pose a question that says this, right? Because it's all, we can see where this is heading, right? Every time you had a new release of something, it was 500 times more powerful than the one before it. Eventually, you're going to reach the singularity, and then God knows what happens, right? We're all slaves like it's the Matrix or something. But I want to ask the question in the practical reality of real life physics. Like, there's such a thing as terminal velocity, right? You don't know what terminal velocity is when you jump out of an airplane, right? You accelerate at minus 32 feet per second squared, right? As you're falling, or 32 feet
Yeah,
squared.
9.8 meters
Basically,
squared for people north of the border.
Exactly. So basically, you're moving faster as every moment goes by. But eventually you hit a certain speed that you just don't go any faster, just because of the way nature is, because of the atmosphere, right? Will there be a terminal velocity for artificial intelligence that they just can't get over the hump? Because at the end of the day, it was invented by humans. It is, comes from human inputs. At some point, there won't be like the true artificial intelligence in the sense of the word that it can keep creating more artificial intelligence until infinity, because ultimately it comes from what we put into it. So I don't know, is all I'm saying. I'm just trying to put that out there because I don't live in fear of these type of things, even though it doesn't take much intelligence to cause a major disruption, because it's easier to cause a disaster than it is to build something. So we're gonna see.
All right, chat is getting involved. They definitely want some new Biggie songs. They want a new Tupac song, even a newer Tupac song. I know he still is making songs somehow. Let us know in the comments who is the best lyricist of all time. If you're watching this long, you're a real one, and we want to know your opinion. So please let us know. I like Kendrick Lamar now, I guess. Ghostface Killer. I don't know. Let us know. Let us know. But that is all we have time for. And it looks like Mind Your Biz ended up taking it. Tim almost had it. Tim, I almost hit you with the 2 points real quick. I wasn't sure where you're going to go with it. But Mind Your Biz, it was your background. Feel free. Take us away with some parting thoughts, please.
Well, much appreciated that you had me back on the show. Really appreciate these three fine gentlemen that I shared a panel with today. They're absolute ballers, Chad status, Giga Chads in their own right. Obviously, you're going to go take a look at their channels. I did ask for ChatGPT to leave you a parting gift as well. And this is what it dropped, some bars. It said, AI is here to stay. Let's find common ground. Innovation, progress, new chances abound. Upskilling, reskilling. The workforce will see a future where humans and AI live in harmony.
Ooh. All right, that's all we got. And hey, who typed in Nickelback? I'm actually not kidding. I know who you are. That's all we got. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you follow everyone's. Links are in the description below. Till next time, easy out.